Finally, let's take a look at using generics with events. So if I were to add just a simple controlled input here, how would we do that in React? Well, we would probably have some sort of state. So const value, set value equals use state. And I would have an onChange function in here, which we can just go ahead and write. We've got our event, and we set the value, and the value is going to be, so we could say const value equals event.target.value. And we're doing this inline, so we get some nice autocomplete. We can pass our value in here. Let's say event value, so we don't have a name conflict. And then the value here of this input is going to be equal to the value of our state. Why is this mad? So this is another type error here. We'll just solve this together. So set state value. Currently, we forgot to initialize our state, so our value is set to undefined. And set value, this is pretty difficult to read, but we can see the set state action is expecting undefined here. So let's just initialize this to an empty string, and that will resolve that. And we've got ourselves a working input. So nothing too crazy here. Let's go ahead and refresh our app. Input, great. Everything works as expected. Now, what happens if we try to extract this function out of our onChange handler? So let's go here. Let's create a function called const handle change. This function. Put that in there. So now Typescript, handle change. So now that's not in line, Typescript can't infer. So all of the properties that come with the standard HTML elements we use, when working in TypeScript, those come with the types built in. There's another global type package that's available that adds types for the input elements here. So I actually click into the onChange, it takes us to that types React, there's an index.txt file, and there's actually types for input HTML, label HTML, they all extend this HTML attribute. So it's a bit complex. You don't need to worry too much about that, but all of these HTML elements are already typed for us. So when we define a function in line, even though we're writing code that we're familiar with, all the typing comes from this onChange here. But we need to think about, what is this event now? Well, is there an event available to us globally? There is, but this doesn't look to align up. So what if we actually just look directly at the type definition file for onChange? It's going to look a little scary. This React type definition file is a bit of a mess, but what do we have here? We've got a change event handler that takes a type. So what is change event handler? Well, that's an event handler that gets a change event that gets a type. Okay, so what if we just use this change event here? So we're only dealing with the event, so let's go ahead and use the change event. So this function, this whole function is the change event handler. But if we type the event directly, it's a change event, which we need to import from React. So I'll add that to our existing definition up there. Okay, it's definitely a change event, but we don't have value does not exist on event, target, and element. Well, if we think about the event could be different based on what type of input element it is, or what type of element we're working with. And here we're working with an input element, which is exactly why that change event, or everything here, takes a generic. So if you see this type that we're defining here, this generic part is actually used directly with the change event. And this generic is meant to represent the element that we're using it with. So what we would supply here for the generic is actually, in React layer, it's going to be HTML input element. And this is something, again, that's going to be globally available to us that comes from the React type package. Why some things are globally available and why some aren't, just the way they built it. So all the HTML stuff is globally available. All of the React specific stuff, since React is handling our events, that's why we need to import it. But that is it. So